Listen, bruv, I am so thankful to have you here. This is like a big moment for me. I've been a fan. I've been watching you from afar. I've just been watching your grind. I've been watching the way that you have been making the financial sector just look amazing, because you have kind of demystified so much of the mystery that there is around finance and money. And definitely in certain communities, we're not always great about talking about money. So, bro, the E-Man is in the building. Got a round of applause.
So, thank you, bro, man. I appreciate it.
So what is your name, bro? What's your actual name, and then what's your brand? Tell me more about that, bro.
Yo, so my name's Emmanuel Asuquo. I'm a financial advisor. The brand is the Eman Effect, and I guess the Eman Effect come from basically I help people with their finances, and then they'll be in the shop, and then they'll want to buy something, and then they'll hear my voice say, "Nah, you shouldn't buy that." And then they'll message me say, "I was gonna buy this, but I didn't. I heard your voice," and that's the Eman Effect. And so, bare people kept saying it to me, "Oh no, I was gonna do this, but you said this, so I didn't." That's the Eman Effect. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to name the brand the Eman Effect.
Okay, I love it. But it's more than just like hearing your words ringing in people's ears. You actually are a financial advisor by trade, right?
Yeah, no, qualified. Been so for like 13 years, qualified, worked in the bank, started off Barclays, HSBC, NatWest, and went private, independent. I'm still a financial advisor today.
So we'll talk a little bit more about your journey, because I know there are some young people who are looking at that industry as something that they're interested in, or maybe never considered that they could work in it, but I'll find out more. Before we go further, I want to do a quick fire question round, right? Where I'm just going to throw out some terms that are financial terms that I think people sometimes don't know what they mean, or they do, and they have a vague sense. And I just want you to kind of demystify some of them. There's about 5 or 6 of them, maybe a little bit more. And just give like a one word kind of, or one sentence kind of answer, just explaining what that might mean, if that makes sense.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
So, savings.
So savings, that's money that you're not spending. That's money that you're putting away for a goal or an objective.
Budget.
Budget is you behaving yourself. It's you actually coming to say, look, what am I doing with my money? And I always talk about the fact that, you know, people work and they know where they got to be. Even in kids at school, you know what classes you got to be at, you know what time you need to be here, you know when PE is, when all this is, when lunch break is. I used to always know when lunch break was, you know what I mean? But you don't know like where your money's going. And so budget is you saying, look, actually I'm going to organize my money. I'm going to take control of my money. And people that take control of their money and tend to use it better. Loan, that's when you borrow money from someone, from a party, typically a bank, and you know, this whole good debt, bad debt type of thing, where if you're using it to, if you're taking your overdraft to go on holiday, that is considered a bad debt, and no one rates that. No one rates that. If you are using a loan to start a business, or you're using a loan to buy a property, that's considered good debt.
What is debt?
I like to say it simply as it's dead money. So if you're borrowing money, if I borrow money to then go on holiday, yes, I'm gonna have experiences. I'm gonna put it on Insta. I'm gonna get some likes. They're gonna see me eating, you know, meat at sorbet on the sorbet, in you know what I mean? That, you know what I mean? That maybe I'm gonna get a few extra likes for that. But in reality, that's dead money. It's gone. You can't re-get that money back again after that experience. Whereas if you're using it for a business, the hope is that that business will then generate an income, generate money. Now that money's alive. Now, even in the future, not only can you get income from it, in the future, you can sell it and get even more from it in the future. Same as a house. You get a house, you might rent it out. Now you're getting income from it. In the future, you can then sell it. So to me, that's money that's alive, as opposed to dead money gone in an experience. Interest is the money that you get on top of your, we want to say savings. So let's say savings in a bank. I put money in a bank, I save, I get interest on top, but also on a loan. So you borrow money, like at the end of the day, someone's giving you some money. They want to make money on their money. So they're giving it to you and they put interest on top, so that when they get it back, they get what they gave you plus an amount on top. Now, what we find is that when it comes to interest, when borrowing, the interest rate is higher. So what banks do is they take your money in savings and they give you 1%. Then they go over the other side and borrow it, and they borrow 8%. That is called a hustle. You understand? The banks are hustling us. So this is why when we get money, we got to make it work for us and make sure it's live money and not dead money.
So just while we're on interest, what's compound interest? What's that?
Compound interest is what I call, it's a sweet thing. Sweet, like, you know, like it's so beautiful. So imagine I got £100 and I get 10% on my £100. So the next month I've got my £100 plus £10 that I've got interest. then I get 10%, not just on the original £100 that I put in, but I get 10% on the £10 that I put in, that I've got interest. So I haven't done nothing with that. That's just been on its own. I only put this in. So I'm getting growth on my original capital as well as my interest. And over time, I get interest on top of interest. And so my interest continues to make me money while I still have the original amount. And that is compound interest. Over time, compound interest can really make your investments grow. And that's why things like pensions are really good for compound interest, because they're in a tax-free environment over a long period of time before you can touch that money.
So in a way, it's like your money is working for you without you actually having to do any work, right?
No additional work.
Taxes. What are taxes, bro?
Taxes are the devil. And it's the second thing guaranteed. All right. So the first thing guaranteed is that you're gonna die, and the second thing is that you're gonna pay taxes while you're alive. So the thing about taxes is we only think of taxes when it comes to income. But taxes also come, when you buy stuff. Look at your receipt. We don't look at the receipt. You want your receipt? We say no. If you looked at your receipt, you see that at the bottom, the price of the product is not actually that price. That price includes VAT, value added tax. And so taxes is what governments use to raise funds so they can, fix roads and do all these other things that we enjoy. Now, it's important to understand that some taxes you can't avoid, but there are some taxes that you are choosing to pay. And so the reason people engage with someone like myself as a financial advisor is to reduce the amount of tax they have to pay, so they have more money to invest, more money to enjoy. And so remember, taxes is money that's going straight out. So if you can reduce that, you keep more of the hard money that you work for.
So taxes are important because they help us to function in society. They help us get roads, bins, etc., NHS, etc., etc. What's the difference? Because you've seen it in the news in recent years, where you've got maybe celebrities who have got a lot of money. What's the difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance?
There's a big difference. Tax avoidance is when you use programs and schemes that are legal within the tax method, within the government have said you can use them and take advantage and not pay tax on a certain amount of money. I mentioned it before, for example, pension. Money that you put into pension, you get tax relief on that. Now, also, if you're a business and you pay money into pension, it's now a business expense. So before you pay corporation tax as a business, you can take off money that you've paid yourself into your pension. That is tax avoidance. There is a tax that you would have paid, but you have avoided it using legal methods.
So that's legit. That's
legit. That's cool. Tax evasion is where you are supposed to pay tax and you are now either lying or you are using methods that are not legal to avoid paying tax. So evade it. So you're evading it. So you should do it, but you are trying to evade it. Now, the problem with that is, and what we've seen with celebrities is a lot of the time they haven't done that on purpose. The problem is if they've met one financial advisor similar, not to me, because me, I keep it 100 legit. You understand? But do you understand? I keep it clean. Do you know what I mean? But some advisors think they're more smarter than HMRC. And a lot of the time, yes, the rules that they were using were correct. So they were allowed to use them. However, HMRC will say it's not in the spirit of how it was meant to be done. So you are avoiding that, but actually it's not in the correct way. And so retrospectively, they come back, they change the rule and then say, now you owe us for all these years. Even though at the time, yes, the rule was that you could do that, but you doing that was not in the right spirit of the law. And therefore now you now owe us money.
It's interesting because I think there are quite a few celebrities. I don't really know of many in this country, but definitely in the States, famous musicians who have been hit by the IRS, who come and how does one avoid doing that? Like being in a situation where someone's going to come knocking on your door 10 years down the road and say, you owe us for all of this time.
The way to avoid it is to think to yourself, is this correct? So for example, they had one in the UK where it was a cinema. They basically, government were given tax relief for cinema, people creating films in the UK. But there were actually no films being created. There wasn't even real equipment being bought. They just said they were buying stuff to avoid it. Now, obviously, when HMRC found out, they went back. Now, unfortunately, a lot of celebrities who honestly put their money in thinking that, this was an honest loophole and that's what they were advised by their financial advisor or accountant, ended up getting caught out. And so for me, it's about sometimes, okay, let's not go too hard. Like, let's not try and be too clever. We know what the government say, what they promote, and we know what they don't. So let's try and keep it, within the rules. But people are always going to bend them, and sometimes you're going to have to be made an example of, and then the rest of us are going to learn from your mistakes. They say a wise man learns from another man's mistake.
What is investment?
Investment. So investing is when you have money and you put it into something in the hope or with the aim for it to grow beyond the value that it is already.
So you could take £1,000 and invest it in buy a share in a business, for instance.
Yes.
And hopefully, as that business grows, your share would your dividends would grow.
Yes.
As well.
Exactly. But also, what I'm starting to do is teach investments in another way, and that is in a way of any money you spend, because you've worked hard for that money, and you've worked to get that money. Any money you spend, you're investing.
Okay.
And so now what I'm saying to you is if you get paid and you spend your money in Nike Town, you're investing in Nike. Now, Nike, you have two choices. You can invest in Nike and invest in the clothes and the items that they provide, or you could also invest in the shares.
Stocks and shares. What is that? What do people know? What does that mean?
So shares is literally as what it's saying. So when we talk about share, anyone that owns a share owns a share of that company. You own a portion of that company, however big or small. And what that means is that as a shareholder, you are likely to share in the profits of this company. Now, that if you receive the profits of a share of the profits of the company, that's called a dividend. Okay. But what you can do is share in it. And so if I own a share in Apple and the price of Apple goes up above the price that I bought it at, I, as well as everybody else that's invested, will be able to share in that value or in that growth. And then I can sell my share to redeem the money that I originally put in.
So if I, at the start of this year in January, had invested in, let's say, Amazon, Netflix, or hand sanitizers, or toilet roll, would I be somebody that might be receiving dividends?
Definitely, you'd be definitely, now not all shares provide dividends. So it depends on the type of share that you own. But you definitely will be benefiting from the share price going up, and you would have the ability to sell those shares that you own for a profit.
Credit score. What is credit score?
Credit score is how the mandem check you. And the mandem is basically the banks and financial institutions. They'd be like, listen, I saw my man use your thing. How did he do? How did he do when he took money from you last time? And then my man will say, right, you know what? He made a few late payments. So now your score is gonna say, rah, man's not as trustworthy as I thought. And it's so basic. Like, they're gonna make it like it's complex. It's very simple. If someone's gonna ask you to borrow money and you know someone who they've borrowed money from before, would you not ask them? Yeah. How was it? What was the experience like? Did he pay on time? Did they give you all your money? Was there any aggro? Oh no, it was cool. Excellent, it was cool. Boom. I'm gonna make sure that your score reflects the fact that you took money from my brethren and you brought it back, and now it's cool. That's a credit score.
But a lot of people don't know about credit score until they need it. So are there things you can be doing unwittingly that damage your credit score, that when you come to need your credit score for something, I don't know, let's say you want to take a mortgage out, are there things you could have been doing, not realizing is damaging your credit score?
Oh yeah, of course. More time, my Nigerian brothers doing the 419, they're messing themselves up, doing all these parcel deliveries. When they think they're being smart, ordering parcels, but they get clocked and get caught, and then they get a mark on their name that can affect your credit. Also, when you get to university, now you want to take out every overdraft, every credit card, and then when it's time to pay back, you say, listen, run them, and then you don't want to pay it back. But now that's going to leave another mark on there. And so it's very, very, very important that you are careful when you are taking credit. And sometimes you may not realize you're taking credit. For example, Kalana. A lot of the time, people will not realize that some of these agencies, it is credit. You are taking credit, even if they're saying 0% interest and so forth. If you don't pay, they will leave a mark on your credit. And also, should we really be doing credit to buy stuff that is dead money? And that's what I was talking about. At the end of the day, if it's dead money, let's use cash, buy it, and live within our means. We only want to really use debt or credit when we're trying to make money live.
So what about things like store cards and like you know, you can get same day pay stuff like that. Do those kind of things affect your credit score?
Payday loans is one of the worst things people can ever do. So I know it's quick money and it's easy and so forth, but what you are showing to a bank, and a lot of the time credit is about behavior. What you're showing to a bank when you take a payday loan is that you are unable to manage your salary, and therefore you need to go and beg a man for money to survive. And that's not someone that anybody wants to borrow to. So payday loans are very, very dangerous, and I'd say try and avoid that as much as possible. I think store cards, if you can collect points, then and you use that and you know what you're building towards, then it makes sense. So, you know, a lot of people use air miles, for example, because they love to travel. And so if you're going to spend the money anyway, why not get points on top of it? And then those points can lead to a discount or even free flights somewhere. That makes sense. But I feel sometimes people have so many different store cards, and actually you're not looking at the point system. So you're saying to yourself, you know, I remember Nectar used to be sick, and now when I look at it, I'm thinking, right, you have to spend so much just to get £1. That actually it's not really making as much sense. So I'm not as enticed to spend my money or go into this store, spend money on this point system. So make sure that it makes sense for you, your lifestyle, and what you're trying to achieve.
What's an asset and what's a liability?
Truth. So an asset is something that derives a return on it. So whether that be in its actual self, so it goes up in value itself, or it derives an income, and that income is income producing. And some do both, like property, where you've got a value of the property, and over time that can go up, as well as if you then rent out that property, you can also get an income from it. That's an asset. A liability is something that you get, and there's no, you can't make you any money from it. So, for example, a lot of people will say, you know, a car can be a liability because you spend money on a car, and the value of the car goes down quite quickly, depreciates quite quickly. However, if you use that car and rent it out during the week when you're not using it, and it brings you an income, now it can become an asset. And so I always talk about assets and liabilities being more to do with how you use it rather than what it is.
So you could potentially buy a very unique kind of one-off kind of car, like a Porsche Carrera or something like that, and actually that be an asset, even though generally a car would depreciate in value, because it's so unique, that can actually be an asset.
Yeah, definitely, and if it's desirable. So if you got, you know, some people like to hire Range Rovers on the weekends when they go out with their friends. Now, if you got the money to buy a Range Rover, and let's say you take Monday to Friday, you take training to work, so you might lease it during the week, and then on the weekend, on a Saturday, you might lease it, and then you might just drive it to church on a Sunday. But now it's paying for itself, if not above, and actually it's making you money. I've got people who have cameras, and you might spend a lot of money on a camera. Now again, if you're using a camera for personal use, that would someone see that as a liability. Spending all that money just to take personal pictures. But you might use it as a business for your job. You might go and take photos. Now it's an asset. Or you may even lease it out. So you might only use it for personal use, but you may lease that camera out when you're not using it. Now again, it's an asset. So it's all about the use and what you can do with it, as opposed to just the asset in itself.
So it's not actually just about the product itself.
No.
It's the mindset and how you intend to use it. You know, you see sometimes in America, you get the kids will go and get lemons, and then they'll make lemonade. The lemon in itself is not necessarily, it's dead money to some extent, unless you use that to then go and make lemonade.
Exactly that.
So how do you know all this? Like, how you didn't just wake up one day and just have it in your head? How do you know the information you know? Like, what's your background? Like, so you're a financial advisor. How do you even get into that?
Good question. For me, and it's changed a lot, but for me, I was blessed enough to get into it through just working hard. So basically, I grew up in Tower Hamlets, East London.
Oh, tight London, stand up, gang.
And for me, growing up where I grew up, it's Canary Wharf is like that, is the main, we know that's where the money is at.
Yeah.
And so from my window, I could see, the Barclays building, HSBC building, and I thought, I just want to be over there. I want to be in there. So I got a job in Marks and Spencer's in Canary Wharf, and I used to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, working there. Then I used my experience in Marks and Spencer's to get a job as a cashier.
How old were you then when you got that job?
In Marks and Spencer's, I was 18. I was 18. Cool. And then within a year, I got a job as a cashier in Barclays. So I'm 19, started in Barclays as a cashier. And I met a manager who told me, look, I like you, but you say you want to do more, but you're not living to your full potential. And the first thing he told me was, if you're on time, you're late. And I thought, rah, so my man's here trying to make me better, and he's talking about time. But what I didn't clock is that to be early takes preparation.
Yeah.
To be early takes a mindset that you are going into your day. You're not just waking up and rushing, and you're going into the day. You're planned, you're ready, you're prepared, you're ready to make the most out of the day. Yeah. Being early is so much more than just the time itself. It's what goes into it. It's the mindset. It's how you're starting your day. You've been able to now grab a coffee. You're able to prepare yourself. You're able to deliver and be the best version of yourself. And so that was the first thing he taught me. And then the second thing he taught me is that you want to be more than where you're at, yet you only do where you're the level that you're at. Woo! So
that's dropping gems.
I wanted to be more than a cashier, but all I spent my day doing was being a cashier. Yeah. So guess what? I'm only going to stay as a cashier. So he was like, if you want to be more than a cashier, you've got to do stuff beyond your role. And so what I started to do was pick up the pamphlets. I don't know if they even have them these days, but I used to have booklets in the banking hall where you could pick up, this is a credit card, these are the bank accounts. And I didn't need to know them to be a cashier, but to reach the next level, I needed to know them. And so I used to study them. I stopped watching EastEnders. I started in the evenings when I got home, man's reading these pamphlets and learning. And so then with my personality, which I used to get cussed for at school, I used to be told in front of my dad, they called me the entertainment system of the class. Wow. I'm Nigerian. My dad wanted to, that was the worst thing you could say ever. But now that's a skill that I have, that I'm able, but I wasn't using it in the right environment. Yeah. So when I added that personality that I have and that with the education, the knowledge, the two together, I was working 3 days a week doing more target than people that are full time. So
let me just, bro, you're dropping gems, so you need to just give me a chance to catch up. Yeah. So what you were saying about being on time, being early, and what you were saying about using, like, kind of almost living above your station. This is where you are in life, but you're doing more.
Exactly.
That comes down to organization.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of households are not necessarily built for training young people how to be organized. Like we kind of have life come at us,
Yes.
It's rather than being on top of it and being proactive, we're reactive. So what would you advise someone who maybe has grown up in a home where, it's difficult at home? Maybe mum's on her own, like maybe, it's tight for mum and dad. Maybe there's some sort of situation that means that, learning how to be organized is not the priority. What advice would you give to someone who's maybe grown up in a home that's maybe a little bit chaotic or a little bit, just things are not how it should be in an ideal world? What advice would you give to them about organizing themselves?
I think for me, it's about understanding your why. Okay. And this is the big thing, your why. Because we can talk about plans and, doing this, but I see young people all the time and I can spit these gems to them, but they don't know their why. So when it's time to make the changes, they're not able to make the changes because they don't understand why they're making the changes. And so for me, what was most important was to understand my why. And then it was to be practical. So I turned my watch, I took my watch and I put it half an hour early. And then I aimed to get everywhere half an hour early. I was getting everywhere 1 hour early. And guess what? When the trains broke down, I was still early. When I'm getting everywhere 1 hour early. Now, for me, I understand that, it's difficult, but it's planning. So I understood, what train do I need to get there on time? Excellent. That's not the train I'm getting. I will need to get the train before the train I need to get there on time. And so that meant I had to iron my clothes in the evening so that I don't have Because I don't, like you say, it's chaotic in the yard. There's bare of us in the house. Yeah. Someone might be in the shower when I'm supposed to be in there and so forth. So I need to make sure that I limit all the things that are taking me time. I used to have to make sure I've got my lunch packed, ready in the fridge. Boom, put that into my bag. So again, it's about having the planning and it's about taking control of your dreams and your desires. And it's how much do you want it? Because if you're not doing it, understand the next man is. And so even if you both have the same qualification and you both have the same desire, if the next person is more prepared than you are, guess what? 9 times out of 10, they're going to get the job.
You know what so you in your role are a professional. You work in professional spaces. You will have TV appearances. You will go and work with different organizations. How important is time and punctuality in those spaces? Because sometimes when you're with your brethren and you say you're going to be there at 2, but you get there at 3 and it's not that big a deal. How does that differ in a different space?
And this is the biggest thing. So I do a lot of TV. And so when the TV company call me, number one, I'm well prepared. I ask all the questions to make sure I'm prepared. I know what I'm going to say. I practice way beforehand. So that we're not wasting too much time filming. 2, I get there early. The reason I get there early is so that, number one, I'm a man, you have to know yourself. I'm a man that I sweat easily. So if I start moving too fast or trying to rush around, all of a sudden my forehead is dripping. This is not the first impression that I want to give. Do you understand? So I understand myself. So I need to get there early so I can take my time, have my aircon on, be calm. If I need to get on the hot train, I've got time to cool down before I get in there. And then also it's the impression. Now I'm prepared, I'm early, we finish on time or we finish before time. Guess what? They're going to call you back. They're going to call you back. So now I'm eating multiple times. For some of us, because we're not making the right impression the first time, we're only going to eat once. I'm eating multiple times because they want to work with me, because they know I'm going to be on time. They know I'm going to be prepared. And time is, the thing is, we don't put enough value in time. We always focus on money. But actually, what's money without time?
You are constrained by time. That's the most valuable asset you have, because money you can get again, but time, once it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone. And if you have no time, you're dead. And so, where's money then? And so we have to, we need to put so much more value on time than we do on money.
So what was your relationship with money growing up? What were you like? Were you the kid in school who was always selling like Mars bars and all the rest of it, or were you a saver? What was your actual relationship with money growing up?
I had no dough, man. I had no dough. I was the kid I was going Lidl's before Lidl's was cool. Do you know what I mean? When I was going Lidl's, it was an embarrassment. Like, I remember once going to Lidl's and my mum sent me to Lidl's to buy oil. And so I bought the bottle of oil and I put it in my jacket pocket. You know, because you don't want to pay the 10p for the bag. Plus, who wants to walk with a Lidl's bag advertising Lidl's? You might just get beat up. Do you know what I mean? Them times. So I put it in my bag. Popo has seen me. I've got stopped and searched because I had oil in my pocket. Do you know, like, they're thinking, wow, what's in there? When I've pulled it out, like, just go. Do you know what I mean? This is how embarrassed I was to walk around with a Lidl's bag them times. You know what I mean? I didn't get my first pair of, designer trainers, which were Adidas trainers, till I was 15. I was getting mocked. I was wearing Ascot, Arribas. So where there was meant to be D's, my trainers had B's. It was embarrassing. Do you understand?
I used to get hike socks.
So it was bad. US brass. So a lot of people had kickers. Kickers was the big thing when we was in school. I had US brass. From a distance, it looked like kickers. When they came close, they knew the difference. And so what happened was, for me, my relationship with money was that, it was a struggle. There wasn't money. Like, dad was on the up and coming. Mum was working as a dinner lady. It was hardly any money available. And so I missed bare school trips. I missed out. I used to hate my life. And so because of that, it was like, I've got to make a change. And that became my why. I need to change my situation. And so then I had to say, what am I prepared to do to make change? And it always goes back to that saying, like, insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But so many of us do that. We live in the same life, we meet the same friends, we go to the same school, we hang in the same circles, and then we wonder why we're not seeing change. I think sometimes we have to look at, yes, like you said, there are things that happen in our lives and it can be painful at the time, but these are the things that build our character. And these are the things that lead us to understand that we're able to achieve more. Like if you look at where I come from, I haven't got the highest education. I haven't gone to the best schools. But yet now I did a talk at Cambridge University this year.
Wow.
Before the lockdown. I never thought I'd ever see Cambridge University, let alone be invited to be a speaker. Yeah.
What clues could a young person look at and be like, these are some clues that I can look at to say, maybe I could pursue a career in finance?
In finance, I think obviously the obvious one is the whole maths and being good with numbers. But it depends where you're going in finance. Like, so maths and numbers is really good if you want to become an accountant. Do you know what I mean? But if you want to do something like me, my thing is personal. People are telling me about, if they're in debt or they've come into inherited a large amount of money that they may not even tell their close family and friends, but they're telling me, they're confiding in me. So you got to have a personality. You got to be able to have empathy. You got to be relatable. You got to appear trustworthy. Again, things like if you're late in doing what I do, like you lose the client's trust. Because if you're late, like you've let them down. And that's a lot of the time we don't see it like that, but you've let them down. You've told them, you've almost lied. You've told them you're going to be here at this time, and then you haven't appeared at that time, and you haven't told them why or given them a reason beforehand. You just turned up late. It's disregard. It's disrespect.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so again, in my field, when you're dealing with people with money, time is money. So if I've got a millionaire or someone affluent person who is now waiting for me to turn up, they're thinking, right, I don't care about the business. I don't care about the client. And so they're going to find someone that's going to get there before they get there. And that's why it's so important to understand the importance of time and so forth, and really understand what your passions are. Don't get me wrong. I thought I was going to be a sports star. I used to play basketball and rugby, and I was very, very, very good at rugby. But at the same time, I couldn't put all my hopes and dreams only on that. I had to have a backup plan. I had to look at what else could I do. And I'm so glad that I did that, because if I didn't, you know what I mean, it could have been a different story. So
in the financial game, don't they call that diversifying your portfolio?
Come on.
All right.
Come on.
So what does that mean? What does it mean to divert? What are you talking about there? What does that mean? Not putting your eggs in one basket.
What it basically means is exactly that. Is that, yes, I want to achieve this. So I want to get somewhere. But actually, you put in it all relying on this one thing when we can't predict anything. They say if you want to make God laugh, predict your future or tell them what you're going to do. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you can't predict what's going to happen. We can't. Look at this year. How many people said, listen, 2020 is going to be my year? Come on. Like, what out here? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, now we're saying, listen, people didn't even want the clocks to go back because they didn't want an extra hour in 2020. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of them things where we can't predict what's going to happen. And so sometimes, yes, you have all the talent, all the ability, and yes, in a perfect world, if everything lands the way it should do, yes, you'll make it. But it only takes one bad agent or one coach or someone to tarnish your name, or you to get an injury, or you to have a bad trial or lose your confidence, or a parent to pass away. We've heard the stories of people who are on the road and one thing happened and it's all gone. And so for me, it's really important, just like when we're investing, to diversify. Like my guys that invest in property, I also get them to look at, investing in stocks and shares, looking at business options. Guys that are in business, looking at property. Look at Tesco. Tesco is a supermarket. Tesco still buy commercial property. They still build houses. How many flats have you seen at the Tesco's at the bottom? Yeah. Some of them, they own that building. They got to diversify their money. Yeah. All your money can't just come just from one place, because you've seen Tesco go from £1 in every £10 3 years ago was spent in Tesco, and now Tesco are not even the third biggest supermarket. Things change, things go around. So you have to diversify.
If you were going to give advice to your younger self, you personally, and I'm conscious that, because I'm going to ask you about your younger self and someone that's living in 2020, and they're very different times, just by virtue of changes in technology, social media, culture, everything's changed. But what would you have said to your younger self that you think would have benefited you today?
I would have said read more. I would say read more. That's one thing that I wish that I did, because the power in reading for me, number one, is that when you read, like you're now allowing new things into your mind, new possibilities. That like the reason for me, some men are so on the block is that that's all they know. Every day I go to school, I come back to my block, I come back to my friends, I come back to where I live, where I'm at, and this is my mecca. This is all I have. This is my home ground. But when you start to read and you start to understand the possibilities that are out there in the world, you only know what you know. And you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so reading allows you to now want to achieve so much more than what was previously there before. Secondly, words. I'm very limited in my vocabulary because I didn't read enough. And so now I try and read more to build up my vocabulary, but it would have been so much easier as a young person to do that. Because again, when you are trying to construct, when I'm sitting down with high net worth individuals, I don't want to be just saying and then and I want to be able to construct words better. And then spelling. The more my spelling has improved so much in the last 5 years, but that's only because I've been on Instagram and have to type. Do you know how much times I've flopped on, like me and Grammarly are best friends right now. Do you know what I mean? And Grammarly everything. And that again goes down to planning them and making sure that, you know, you're putting the right foot out there. So I try and use spell checkers and these type of things. But my spelling would have been so much better if I read, because I would be seeing the words regularly and I will know how to write them. So for me, reading is so powerful.
And it costs nothing to read. It's expensive. You know, they say that not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. Like it's something that is it's a staple of leadership. Is how do you know how to lead people and how to know things if you don't invest in your own kind of personal development. But also what you were saying about words is, I remember hearing a quote where someone said that my words are the limit to my world. So there's a sense that you are confined and constrained by your vocabulary. And I think there's some research that was done to say that in certain households, some children don't learn their vocabulary is so small by the age of like 2 or 4 that it stays limited. And so reading is that kind of supercharge that helps you to expand in all of those different abilities to deal with different concepts, abstract concepts, and think widely, to go to places you've never been before, like by reading, by expanding your vocabulary, all of the stuff you just described. So reading, you would say, is definitely important. And would there be any other advice that you think is?
Reading, and then I think one thing I did later on was drama. And which helped me obviously get my confidence to stand up in front of people and speak. Because obviously in the classroom you can mess about and that's just banter. But when it's actually someone said, look, here's a mic, everybody's listening. You know, I used to have a bit of a stutter and stammer back in the day because of the nerves. It used to make me shake. But now I don't have that anymore. So for me, it would have been a lot more about learning the art of debating. Because again, debating means that I'm now going back to read. I'm going back to learn something and understand that someone's going to pick at it. Like one thing I did do that was great for me, that helped me a lot, was play chess. And so I'd learned from playing chess about actually thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead. And I used to sit and play chess, like, and I became very, very good. Even though my education, my teachers were so surprised when they used to play me at chess, like at school, in secondary school, because I used to play at Play Center in primary school. And they'd be like, wow, you are so good at chess. Yet I wasn't that good at education. And chess is deemed to be something that people are very smart at. And one of the things that made me realize that I'm not dumb, I just haven't learned my style of learning. And that was another thing. Like once I learned how I study, how I revise, man's passing tests. And we sometimes the education system only teaches you in one way. And if you can't master that way, all of a sudden you feel like you're done. But actually, no, you just haven't mastered and learned how you do it. And maybe you needed to record your lessons and then listen back to them and then make notes and hear it over again and let it play and so forth. Like me, I've learned that I need cue cards. I have to write it out. And then actually when I write it out, I'm able to, when I'm in an exam, close my eyes and see myself writing my answer. That's how I pass tests.
There's a saying that says something like, if you judge a fish by the same standard as a monkey or something like that,
come on,
she's gonna fail. You know, they might design in different ways, and I think that the good schools are recognized that students learn in different ways. And I'm not talking about kind of debunked things such as VAK. That's something that in education was a big thing, like in the 90s. It's more about understanding that we learn in different ways, and actually there are there are some tried and tested methods to ensure that people can make progress in their learning. And actually, you can go through the school system and feel like you're dumb because you've never really, it's not necessarily geared towards your way of learning.
Exactly.
And so definitely, I think that's something that's instructive to anyone listening who's a young person in school, is that you don't, in a school we have a limited curriculum that we can give you. Not that we limit, but there's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so much time. So actually, you're not going to have experienced everything there is in the world to offer you. And so definitely extracurricular. So you talked about going and playing chess. That's like an extracurricular activity that helps you understand the art of thinking and strategy. And being able to look at problems and how you're going to solve them, and risk management. And these are things that came from playing chess. So what advice would you give to a young person in 2020 today, like living now? So thinking because I saw a video you did with your son.
Yes. And
you're talking about finance. So if there's a child, so my children are primary school age, a child from like 5 to 10, what advice could a 5 to 10-year-old have now about their finances, about money? What could they do at that stage now?
For me, it's about learning the importance of value. So what I teach my children is about value and understanding that you can chase money, but if you add value to yourself, value will create money. And I always talk it simply like apples and trees. And so for a lot of us, we chase apples. We want the apple. Apple is the money. You want the finished product. You want the money. Boom, take it off the tree. But the problem is, if you always chase apples, you're always going to have to find someone that has a tree. But if you actually add value to yourself, which is the tree, and you grow that value, someone will pay you for the apples that tree produces. And so for me, my kids, they're learning, they spend time, like I said, they do drama. They do martial arts to build their confidence. They do like tech classes to learn how to code and learn how to, because again, in a recession like what we're going through now, and in a time where people are being made unemployed, people with these type of skills can go onto a website like Fiverr, and all of a sudden you can now produce new income from the skills, the value that you've added to yourself. And I think young people don't spend enough time learning about value.
I remember hearing a story, I think it might be a fairy tale, about a man who had the golden goose. The goose would lay golden eggs for him, golden eggs, and he loved it, and he was getting more and more. And then one day he was just like so eager to get it that he killed the goose in order to get the golden egg. But obviously now he's killed the goose, no more golden eggs.
No more eggs.
Sometimes people are quite short term in their thinking, that they want a quick fix, they want the thing that they can get instantly at the expense of a long-term relationship, for instance, maybe with an organization or something. What would you say to someone who's secondary school age, so like 11 to 16? You know, a lot of their income is going to come from their parents. They're going to have money. What kind of things can they be doing as a teen to kind of prepare themselves for the future?
For me, it's about now learning a skill to add a side hustle. I always talk about the fact that now with social media, you don't necessarily need a website. But between Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, some people even use Snapchat. Between those platforms, you now have direct to consumer. You can now get your product direct to consumer. YouTube, you can get whatever it is you're doing, you can get it direct to consumer. So that means now your cost is nothing. All your cost is having internet, which you already have. So for me, it's about starting a business, starting something online. And yes, it might fail, but guess what? Be so happy that it failed when you were 11 or 12 or 13. Be so happy that you're going through the failures at such a young age, because most people don't fail until they start their business in their late 20s, early 30s. And now they have to go through the same and learn the same things in their 20s and 30s that you've learned in your teens. That is a blessing. And I always talk about, when I see my wealthy clients, they're able to give their kids, they give their, here's £1,000, go start a business. They know that they're never going to see that £1,000 again. And 9 times out of 10, it's gone. But they understand the investment that they've made and all the skills that they're going to learn. If my child can start a business at 11 or 12 and it fails, and then they start again at 14, and this time it does a bit better. By 16, 17, it does a bit more. By 21, why won't you be either have your own £1 million company or be director of a £1 million company? Because a lot of these directors that you're seeing these days in these companies are being taken from businesses that they created on their own. And people are saying, well, if you could do that with the limited resources that you've got, I've got a multi-billion-pound company here. Here's a division. Go make it work.
Yeah. Do what you can with what you've got where you are.
Come on.
What about for someone who's in the teens now? Because we're looking at the news, we're looking at COVID, and we're looking at the property market, most of it, university kind of. What advice would you give to someone who's maybe from anywhere to 17 to like the early 20s?
Go and get experience. Sometimes we want to get paid for everything. Listen, go work in whatever your passion, whatever your desire is, whatever you want to become, go get experience in that and don't worry about the money. That experience is going to pay you tenfold.
So you're saying to me, I should go in my summer break or my half term and go and volunteer at an organization like a law firm or...
whatever you want to be, go be that. Because guess what? The experience might tell you that actually you don't want to do that. And that's the problem. Sometimes we've got this idea, I want to be a lawyer. Then we go work in a law firm, like, you know what, this thing is dead. Like, I don't want to be here. Do you know what I mean? Or I want to be an accountant because, you know, our family comes from a line of accountants. And then you go work in the accountancy firm, be like, you know what, actually, I rather prefer management accounts than, you know, personal tax accounts and so forth. You're not going to know that till experience. And some of us are not learning this stuff until we finally get into the grad scheme and then realize we spent 22, 23 years trying to get here and we hate it. And we could have learned that at age 17, 18 by getting the experience in the summer. At the end of the day, what were we doing in the summer? Just chilling our friends on the block.
How does someone do that? Because, like, you know, I don't know any lawyers or law firms or finance. I don't know anyone like that in my circle. How can a 17, 18-year-old go and do work experience or whatever? How do you do that?
It's called LinkedIn. And what you can do on this wonderful, and I always tell people, I hope you're spending more time on LinkedIn than you are on Instagram. LinkedIn will allow you can go and connect. You can type in lawyer and you can connect with people that you know and then connect to people that they know. And so you can then connect and you can write a simple message and say, look, I'm 16, I'm 17. I've looked at your profile. I admire what you've done in your career and where you're going, and I want to be just like you. Could you please allow me to have a day or a week in your offices shadowing you just so I can understand exactly what it takes to be more like you? Yes, you might get knockbacks. I'm not saying the first one you send is going to go. It may take effort, but are you prepared? How much do you want it? If you really want it, put it out there, send it out there. If not, go to find local solicitors or whatever in your area, or accountants or estate agents, whatever it is you want to be. Find them locally. Send them a letter. Write a letter to them, or go down there and hand deliver a letter and say, look, I really just want some experience. I really just want to know what it's like, and I'd love to have a day or two in your company. That doesn't cost you anything apart from time.
We've been talking a lot about finance, but you're suggesting that someone goes and works and not get paid.
Come on.
Isn't the goal money?
No, the goal is not money. And this is what I talk about. It's about, and this is the problem. Sometimes we put money over value. Remember I said value is more important than money. With your experience in these firms, you are adding value to yourself. When the next man if you and the next man has the same degree, and you can say, I spent 6 weeks working in a law firm and he spent 6 weeks in the summer holiday enjoying life, and all he can put is that I've got a degree. Guess which one is more likely to get the role?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So you've added value to yourself, and that value has led you to get a job, and that job is giving you money. We just think we must do something and money must come. I was talking for free. I was going to churches all over the place. Anywhere they'd let me go, I was talking for free. Then they put me on Channel 4, millions of viewers. I did good this morning, just 2 months ago. I was on This Morning with Eman and Ruth.
We've got a money expert today, and that is?
Emmanuel Asuquo, there he is. Emmanuel's joining us to answer your concerns, and there will be a lot of concerns, Emmanuel. What would you like to help people with today?
Good morning, Eman and Ruth. What I'd like to help people with is, if you're thinking about buying a property or selling a property, or even have mortgage issues, or a big one right now, trying to get that refund on a flight, any financial issue like that, give us a call and I'm here to help today. I was talking for free, and now they pay me to talk. And so what I'm saying is I can only do This Morning because of all the effort and energy and how good I am at speaking from taking the opportunity. And that's the problem. We just think we do something and we get paid. But actually you do something, you add value, you learn a skill, you develop that skill, you get experience, and then you get paid.
opportunities do you see that someone could be thinking, yeah, actually, I'm interested in this?
I'm telling a young person now, the whole world is ready to use Zoom, Microsoft Teams, whatever it may be. Now, what business can you create that can utilize these platforms? So now you can, rather than fighting everyone in London to get clients, you've got the whole world. Anywhere with internet, you can now pitch your business. You can now offer your service. So what are you doing that's global? But are we thinking global? Are we thinking local? We're still just trying to impress our mates, our 10 friends, like that makes us money. We're still trying to get 1,000 likes, like that makes us money. And I'm seeing some, like I saw the woman the other day that she got bought. I think her company got bought for like 10 mil of something crazy by Google because she was creating self-drive cars.
Okay.
And she got like 8K followers. Do you understand? Some of us are kidding ourselves saying, I want to get 100K followers. Like that's going to be the be all and end all.
What's the purpose of having money? What's the goal of having that finance? What's the goal? Because we can't take it with us. When we die, there's we don't take anything with us. So what's the purpose? What's the end goal of being financially secure or being...
For me, this life is too short and too precious to be stuck doing something that you hate every day just for a paycheck.
That seems like quite a low view of life, you know. You're just doing it for the paycheck kind of thing. There has to be a greater purpose and a greater kind of focus of what your life is going to count for. You know, for me, I'm definitely for me, my faith is very important. Do you know what I mean? And I think you're also a man of faith as well.
Definitely.
Actually, money is a means to an end. It allows me to affect change in ways that I can help people. I can do things that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And there's a proverb that talks about like a man that's excellent at his skill, it will make room for him.
Yes.
Like the sense that if you work hard and you hone your craft, that with that comes recognition, not necessarily fame and fortune, but there's a sense that you're making an impact in a way that you wouldn't otherwise be able to make impact.
Exactly.
And so that's so critical is that we've said about how to be more financially astute. The goal is not money. No. The goal is the ability to do things with our lives. Like you say, like it's short. Our lives are short, and it's like, what will our lives count for? You know. And I think not everything that counts can be measured, and everything that measured counts.
Counts. Yeah, definitely.
But I definitely think that that's key. And I think that the work you're doing, bro, I saw you do something the other day about helping families get through kind of COVID. I think it was linked with Asda. Something with the Susu, where you're really just allowing people to see how to, you know, families are struggling, people are struggling. And I think you're really using your gift to help impact other people's lives. And I commend you for that, bro, because I think that there are many people that don't have access to this information. And actually, there are many people that would have different outcomes in their lives if they were to apply some of these principles, which is wisdom. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You said something. I hope you could just remind us of what it was about. How sometimes there are families that don't have money to give you for a house.
Yeah. So I always talk about, you know, a lot of the time we don't have vision. We have sight, but we don't have vision. So I hear young people say, "Oh, my friend's parents bought them a house, but my mom can't buy me a house." No, your mom can't buy you a house, but she's allowing you to stay in her house rent-free or at a cheap rent that allows you to now make money and keep more of it so you can build on your dreams and your goals. And so for me, sometimes we are missing that they're giving us what they can. Don't miss the blessing that you have, wishing that you had what someone else had.
So to some extent, being content with what you have, like where you're at, like knowing, you know, because I think that's one of the questions I had is like, what would you see as a pitfall? And I think definitely the idea that more is better can be a pitfall, because then you're never satisfied with anything that you ever have. But I think definitely contentment is really important. The idea that you can be like, you know what, it might not be exactly what I wanted or hoped for, but I'm thankful for what I've got. And I think I've heard you talk about thankfulness and being having an attitude that's thankful, because otherwise you miss what you do have.
Come on.
It's like the art of contentment, right? It's like, you know what I mean?
No, definitely. I totally agree. And I think that is important, and a lot of us miss it. And I always talk about, I've met rich clients, and their money doesn't make them happy. Rich people still commit suicide. People who have wealth, people that come from wealthy backgrounds that have never had to work a day in their life, still commit suicide, still unhappy.
Bruv, you dropped some gems today, bro. Perfect. I'm so thankful that you were able to come and chat with me. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping that it will be helpful and insightful for anyone who listens to it and tunes in, particularly for young people that I work with, because I think that this is one area that is not readily available. There's a lot of mystery around finance and kind of how to manage your money. And so thank you so much for your time. Have you got any kind of material coming up? Have you got anything where people can find you? What are your socials, website,
Yeah, so it's the Eman Effect, so the Eman Effect UK on Instagram, Twitter. It's EmmanuelAsuquo.com for the website. And yeah, we're just here. Instagram is probably the best place to get information and so forth, and interact with us, and see the content that we're putting out there, trying to make this thing normal. At the end of the day, people are making so much money from us making bad mistakes. They want us to have that consumer mindset. So like you said, we keep wanting more. It's never enough. That's consumerism. And that's what makes a country like the UK go round, is that people always want, I buy one shirt, I buy the same shirt in different colors. I buy the same shoe. Do you understand? I just keep buying and buying, and it's never enough. My wardrobe is filled. I donate it all over to charity. Then I fill it up again, and I just keep spending and spending and spending. And so, from, like you said, that content mindset, when you're content and understand what you have and what's important, we're not saying don't aim for more. We're not saying don't want more, don't want better, but we're saying you understand with or without it, you're still good. And that's the important part.
Bro, brother, I wish I could fist bump you. Obviously, COVID is difficult. Thank you so much for your time, bro.
No problem, man.
There should be a way for you to subscribe here, and you can check out some videos here, as well as some videos here. All right, take care. Speak to you soon. Peace.